Hi guys, my name is Karthik and I am from executeautomation.com and welcome to another video of our Cucumber with Selenium series. And in this video, we're going to talk about new way to use Cucumber expression in Cucumber 5. So Cucumber 5 is another new version of Cucumber released just right now, like a couple of weeks before. So this is an all new Cucumber. And again, we just talked about Cucumber 4 released like 5 or 6 months before, and there is another new Cucumber released. It's kind of very neat to see what are the different ways that we can use Cucumber, and Cucumber expression feature is one thing in Cucumber 5 which is very interesting. So we are going to discuss about that in this particular video. So let's all try to help save tree, water and energy to save our motherly planet Earth. And this is an initiative for this video, and we have always been talking about this, at least in this particular series. So let's try to make this happen. Cucumber 5 new type registration mechanism. So Cucumber expression was originally introduced in Cucumber-JVM 3.0. With it came the ability to register parameters and data table type by implementing the type registry configurer. The type registry configurer, however, is not a part of the glue. This made it impossible to access the test context within the type registry configurer. Cucumber-Java, this is now possible by using the @parameter type, @datatable type, and @DocString type annotation. So this DocString type annotation is completely new. We'll be talking about that in a few minutes in this slide. But yes, this parameter type and @datatable type is kind of a new parameter as well. And this is a replacement of the table transformer and the cell transformers and the parameter cell transformers. So we have used these transformers before in different versions in the older versions of Cucumber, but in this version it's all now available as annotations. So this allows the parameters, data tables and docstring types to be mapped to objects which can only be created inside the test context, which is pretty cool. So what does that really means again? It is no longer mandatory to define the parameter type and data table type in a configuration class, that we need to implement the type registry configurer interface, which we were doing all these days until Cucumber 4. These can be located inside a step definition hooks, or for that matter inside any package defined in the glue option, which is pretty cool. So how it should be done is something like this. As you can see, there is an @datatable type annotation, and there is a @parameter type annotation, which is for the parameter, and the before one is for the data table. And again, you can see that the @datatable type has few more additional parameters that you can pass, something like replace with empty strings and things of that nature. And similarly for the parameter type, you can just pass the regular expression of how you need to identify the parameter, and then you can perform the operation. And there is a new docstring type being introduced in Cucumber 5. This is a new feature in Cucumber 5 which does more magic, which allows the docstrings in steps to be transformed into an object, which is also very cool. For instance, if we have a step definition with a docstring, something like this, as you can see in here, it's like a JSON type which has a name, company, and living, things of that nature, like a JSON string. You can easily transform this object into an object type, something like this. As you can see, I have a @docstring type as an annotation, where I'm actually going to be mapping that using the object mapper.readTree, and this same docstring type I'm going to be used within my some more information method as a JSON node I'm passing in to transform, so that I can get the value, name and company out from that. It's very interesting, and it is really good to see how we can replace the complex data to fit into the data table with the replacement of the docstring type, like a JSON value, something like this. So this way we can actually handle more complex data much easily. So let's quickly see everything in action and understand how things work. So for that, I'm gonna flip to my IntelliJ IDE. All right, so this is the release page of the Cucumber 5. As you can see here, the Cucumber-JVM 5 has been released, and it has the annotation based configuration, and these are the things that we are actually going to be discussing in this particular video, as you can see in here. So I'm going to open the IntelliJ IDE. I'm going to create a new project, and I'm going to choose Java 11, and I'm going to hit next. I'm going to create a project from the project template, and I'm going to call this as maybe Cucumber 5 demo. That's going to be the project name as well. I'm going to say create me, And there we go, the project has been created. And quickly, I'm going to convert this to the Maven project type because that's what framework I'm going to be using. So I'm just going to add that. And I got the pom.xml file. And now I'm going to go over here and then I'm going to search for Cucumber Maven. And you can see that the repository exists. And you can see that within this repo, they already started working for version 6. Probably soon we'll also get some new versions or new features in Cucumber 6. They're on fire, it seems. So we don't have to worry about it. It's also going to be coming pretty soon. So we'll see what are the new features coming in. So I'm just going to add the dependencies over here. And I also need a dependency for the Jackson data bind. You'll understand why I actually really require this. So I'm just going to add that. And then I'm going to run the Maven dependencies to be added for me over here. And then I'll just quickly go and see what is the ID JDK my current project setting is using. It's currently using 1.5. So let me change to 10. All right. So now I can start creating the feature file and the step definition file, and we'll see how it actually looks like. So I'm just going to go here. I'm going to create a new package. I'm going to call this as feature. And within this feature, I'm going to add a new feature file. I'm going to call this as demo.feature. So basically, I'm going to add a scenario, something like this. It's like a scenario which is going to perform a miscellaneous operation, like given I log in as admin and I have few books in hand, such as the JavaScript and C#, something like this. And I need to quickly implement some of these step definitions over here. So I'm going to create one more package. I'm going to call this as steps. And if I just do Alt enter, it's just going to create a step definitions for me. So I'm just going to generate all the step definitions and I'm going to add them in the steps folder like that. So you can see all the step definitions has been generated for me. And now I actually need to start working with the code. So as you can see, in Cucumber 4, we used to grab these information pretty much using the list of the type or even using the data table class. But now instead of using that operation, you can see that I have something called as a blank over here. So what does it basically means that I don't really have to showcase a password or something like this. Rather, I actually need to give this like a blank, and using the Cucumber expression, I actually need to convert this particular value into a secret value, something like that. So the very easy way that I can do itself is using the new annotation called as @data_table_type. So this one does all the magic for us. So before actually using this particular type, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to read the value out from this particular type. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a new inner class called as user info. And then over here within this particular login operation, I'm going to pass the parameter as list of user info. And I'm going to read the user information and I'm going to print that particular value into the console. And now if I try to run this particular code straight away, you can see that I actually get some error. So let me try to run this. You can see that it's failing to convert the argument for me over here, this one, into the list of type user info. You need to somehow use what is called as a register data table type in the configuration. You need to mention that. And it also says that there is no table entry or table row transformer to register for this particular type, and there is no way the default table entry transformer registered the transformer, this one, can be considered for the transformation. So in order for this to be fixed, we used to use what is called as type registry transformer, or using the new feature which is introduced this time with Cucumber 5 is @data_table_type annotation, which is this one. So what I'm going to do is this time I'm just going to create a public user info of convert. This is just a method. You can give whatever name that you want. And I'm going to create a map where I'm going to be passing a string of string. Let's call this as entry maybe. And within this, I'm just going to return new of the user info, something like this, where I'm just going to pass the entry.get of username get password, something like this. That's it. So this is like a table transformer and a table row transformer for me, where it is going to get the value and then it's going to convert that value for me. So now if I try to run this particular code, you can see that I get the username as admin and the password as blank straight away, which is true because I'm just going to print that particular value blank in here. But rather, I just need to replace this blank value into a value which I'm looking for. So I just want to replace this blank value. So you can see that within the data table type annotation, there is a replace with empty string parameter where you can actually try converting that. I'm just going to concatenate maybe some secret value, something like this. So this is what the return value is going to be. And now if I try to run this code, you can see that the password blank will be replaced to this particular secret value for me, something like this. So this is one way of data table transformation that you can do within Cucumber 5 much easily. You don't even have to create a separate class file and then implement the interface to make all this operation. Now in Cucumber 5, these are very easier. And the next operation I'm going to show you is going to be for this one, which is going to be for the parameter types. You can see that we have this Java, JavaScript, and C# as a parameter over there. So I just want to convert these parameter into a list of parameter that I can read through and then I can iterate and get the value from. So for doing that, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to use one more annotation called as @parameter_type. So this @parameter_type is also one of the more interesting option because it can do some magics that you are looking for. So for instance, if you want to convert these values into a parameter, you can use the regular expression, something like this, and then you can perform a public of list. So I'm just gonna use the string type here, something like book of string, and then I'm gonna return an arrays as the list of the book name, which I'm gonna split based on comma over there. That's it. So what will happen in here is it is not going to really convert anything at this particular point of time, but using the new Cucumber 5 option, I can straight away pass in here something like this, book, which is nothing but I'm passing the method name as a parameter over here. So you can see that even IntelliJ IDE with Cucumber 5 plugin feature, it will also navigate me to this particular book method. If I just do a control and click, you can see it takes me there. And even this is now mapped for me automatically, which is pretty cool, right? So everything is now mapped. Now I can easily iterate through the value and get the value out from it. And I can see that what value is being printed over there. So if I just do a system.out.println, and of course we need to get that book, string of books, and I can just do a books.get of maybe 2 to get JS in our case, or maybe C# in our case, because it starts from the 0 index. So now if I try to run this code, you can see that it prints me C#. So it gets the value out from it using the @parameter_type transformation over here, which is also pretty cool because now we can also get the parameter type, and now you can do a lot of operation over there. You can get the value, you can change the parameter type, that whatever operation that you want, and then you can return that. And there are in automation many cases that we might need a production URL or a staging URL or a dev URL. Just pass these value over there and see what parameter type it is, and then based on that return the URL out from it from this particular method. So you can do all sort of stuff over there using this particular @parameter_type Cucumber expression. The last operation that I'm going to show you this time is going to be a very interesting DocString operation. So this DocString operation is something introduced just recently in Cucumber 5 in this particular version, where it's going to do some more magics for you, something like this. So you can see that this particular step definition has something like a triple quotes of a DocString value as a JSON, something like this, and it ends with a triple double quotes, which means you can now read the value from in here. Instead of a table, you can create a complex JSON value and then you can work with it. So this answers a lot of big problem that students have, something like how they can actually work with a complex data in data table in BDD Cucumber format. So now I think it checks the box for us. So I'm just gonna go over here. You can see that it has created me a step definition. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make use of a new add DocString type annotation. So this add DocString type annotations is very, very helpful because it can now read the value from the DocString itself. So I'm just gonna use what is called as a JSON node from the JSON that I just installed in the dependency. And then I'm just gonna call this as JSON, and then I'm gonna call this as DocString. And over here, I'm just gonna say object mapper. So I need to create a static of the object mapper on the class. Let me do that. Let's add the type. Oops. Alt enter. And now I can just go over here, object mapper dot read tree of the DocString. So whatever string that I'm going to be passing in, it is going to read. Of course, I need to add the exception in the signature. There you go. So that's it. This is how I can actually read the DocString out, and then I can print that particular value, which is also pretty cool. And using this option, I can read the JSON node, something like this. So I can just go over here. So I'm just going to say var name as JSON node dot get. So the value that I have passed in this one is name and the company and living. So I can just give just these two values, and then I can print them, and then we can see how it actually works. All right, so now this is it. So now we can read the JSON node from this particular step definition, and then we can print the particular value. So let's try to run this and see how this particular code actually works. There you go. Now you can see that it brings me up the name as Karthik and the company as executeautomation. So all these new features which is introduced in Cucumber 5 are pretty handy, and all these features that I have talked today are especially on the Cucumber's expression, which was introduced in version 3, but it was very hard to work with because of the Cucumber-Java not really talks with the Cucumber glue itself, but now it is part of the Cucumber-Java, and now it can directly talk with the object types that we can deal with, and you can see all of them are actually working fine without any problem. So this is very, very handy, very powerful, and we can leverage the power of Cucumber or extend the power of Cucumber in much easier fashion. So once again, thank you very much for watching this video, and have a great day.